Welcome to a very special episode of Kale Your Idols. Or should I say, Hellcome to a very spookful, psychotic episode of Kill Your Fright Ghouls? The season of thrills and chills is upon us, and thus we will begin our annual descent into the world of 70s horror and horror-adjacent works of the era. In the following episode, we invite you to attend the tale of one Young Frankenstein. It is one of the strangest podcasts we've ever recorded. The principal topics you might find rather broad: the nature of fear and the nature of laughter. How did iconic EGOT winner Mel Brooks manage to mine so much pathos and atmosphere out of hacky Borscht Belt routines? What stirred in Gene Wilder's soul to inspire this tale of a person who wants you to pronounce their famous name in a counterintuitive way? How does comedy fit into the other trends that usually characterize the new American cinema of the period? But beneath every one of these queries lies an even deeper, darker question. Perhaps one so chilling that most dare not even ask it. Does my uncle really still find the Frau Blücher horse-neighing bit that much of a knee-slapper? Like, it truly never gets old for him? Anyway, we will forgive any listeners who don't want to delve this deeply into the dark psyche of humankind. But for those of you that choose to keep listening, well, don't say you weren't warned.
Welcome to Kale Your Idols, a new Hollywood podcast with your hosts,
Sam Ludwig
and Elena Gibson. This is a podcast about film. Primarily, we discuss movies, directors, and actors and writers known for their work during the new Hollywood era of studio filmmaking that began in 1967 with Bonnie and Clyde and The Graduate, and pretty much ended in the early 80s with One from the Heart and Heaven's Gate. This episode will be filled with spooks and thrills as we discuss Young Frankenstein.
And the double intros really hits differently when we're both doing funny voices.
I know, mine felt like it took forever.
Yeah, yours felt almost like a parody of mine.
Oh, a parody, you say?
Yes, a parody as opposed to a satire. Do you want to get into this?
I guess a satire is like commenting on it, whereas a parody is just like a pastiche. It's just doing it.
I mean, I think that it's a bit of a square rectangle thing, personally. Like, some parodies can be satirical, but a satire is really, like, actually questioning something about society, I would say.
Yeah.
And a parody is really just mocking the tropes. A satire has to be making a societal point, and a parody is just talking about a specific work. Obviously, something like Blazing Saddles, that's a satire, but it also is parodying a genre. But I also guess, like, there's a certain thing with, like, parody law where, like, things are protected by parody law. A satire is not necessarily protected against parody law, but it's like, who's going to be suing a satire, I guess? Is the entire genre of Westerns going to sue Blazing Saddles? Who is the target that could feel victimized?
I don't know what parody law is.
You don't know what parody law is?
No. It's just you can't really...
This is why Saturday Night Live doesn't get shut down every week. Like, you're allowed to mock anything as long as it's clearly a parody. Because you're not an Nathan For You fan either.
No.
So you don't know about his most famous exploit, which is Dumb Starbucks.
No.
Where he just opens up a Starbucks that's an art installation, but it's just called Dumb Starbucks, and everything's just like a dumb mocha, and it's like he's legally allowed to have this thing open as long as it's clearly making fun of the thing, but it's obviously just is the thing.
So then when Mel Brooks said in his autobiography that they didn't want to use the bolts on Frankenstein's neck because it was too close to the original, and so they put a zipper instead. But if it was clearly a parody anyways, why did he have to worry about that?
That's an interesting question. I don't actually know. I don't know the history of parody law, if this is something that's relatively newer. But also there's a difference here with stuff where it's like Frankenstein obviously is a public domain character. Like Frankenstein was written in the 18 teens.
Right, but I think that they bought the rights of the play Frankenstein to make this movie. The original movie, I mean Frankenstein. At least that's what I heard. And so that's one of the reasons why the movie is so different from the book, is because they were drafting more off of the play.
Right. Well, your hat, right, for example, that you're wearing right now, that's a witch's hat, but it really is a witch from the Wizard of Oz's hat. The movie Wizard of Oz. Because there's certain things that like the Wizard of Oz, this is this is not copyrighted. That's why you can have Wicked, you can have these things. Same with Frankenstein, but there are certain images from movies that the movies created, like the bolts in the neck and the witch's hat that you're wearing, for example.
For listeners, I am currently wearing a witch's hat to get me in the spirit of Halloween. It is causing a little bit of a disruption because my cat is obsessed with it and won't leave me alone, and it's disrupting our recording, but I think it's really helping me in the spirit.
Our cat is also adding to the mood.
Yes, because he's a little black cat. He's really cute.
He's very spooky.
And his name's Dracula.
Okay, so Young Frankenstein, when did your family sit you down and make you watch this movie?
I don't remember how old I was, but I know that it's something we definitely watched a lot when I was younger. We would quote it all the time. In your intro, you made a joke about the uncle insisting that the Frau Blücher thing, that's annoying of him to keep bringing it up. My family still quotes that all the time.
Everybody does.
It's just funny. I think because it played such a part of my childhood and because it was so quotable, the idea of just like quoting funny lines to each other is not something I gravitate towards nowadays.
Yeah.
And maybe
Nor
it's because
does society in general.
Yeah.
We've lost this art.
Yeah. And I associate it as something I did when I was a child with my family.
Right.
And we still do at family gatherings, but I feel like I'm not usually the one instigating it. I hadn't watched Young Frankenstein in a while. I expected upon rewatch that it was going to feel a little silly and kiddish, and I was happily surprised that I didn't think it was a lot of dumb humor. Like, obviously there's a lot of dumb humor in it, but it was not like that kiddish. Pauline Kael says if you go in expecting too much, it could seem like kid stuff, which of course it is, but it's very funny kid stuff is what she says. I think it is more than just kid stuff.
The filmmaking is at an incredibly high level. It's perhaps the best made comedy film that I mean, like, there's so much craft put into not just the cinematography, but the plotting.
Yeah.
And like the characterization, and there's like real depth with these characters. I might even say that some aspects of this movie, compared to other Brooks work, this isn't exactly my favorite Mel Brooks movie.
What would you say is your favorite?
Blazing Saddles, by a long shot. I think that, again, yes, like, I really don't respond to the later Mel Brooks movies where I think they do become very interested in both cinematically depicting imagery that he remembers from classic movies and like recreating those things in a way, like, High Anxiety is all a Hitchcock pastiche and stuff, right? Silent movies about silent movies. Blazing Saddles, that's a movie that is a real idea that has so much bite to it, and it's also so fucking funny. I find Young Frankenstein, it's one of those movies, I don't know where to start with this, because like we have to talk about like these comedies that were passed down to us by an older generation. And like this is really, the 70s is really when this kind of comedy started. And I don't just mean specifically Brooks. I mean Animal House, anything that's kind of a modern canonical comedy. I think the oldest thing that really has sustained is the 70s. There's not a lot of movies from the 60s that people are like, oh, this is so fucking funny, you have to see this, My Nephew, or what,
Right.
This is really when those movies began. They're still kind of relevant.
I mean,
I
guess
know how relevant, but
I guess there's a couple like fast-talking screwball comedies.
No, but that's like an old movie. That's not like a hilarious comedy that will work on this little kid.
You're right.
Right?
So did you grow up with Young Frankenstein?
I think this is the only movie that we have covered so far. I'm pretty sure that I know we owned Mary Poppins supposedly because it was my favorite movie as a little kid, but I never remembered having it in my house. Like, it was long gone by the time I gained sentience. But Young Frankenstein, we had a VHS copy of it in my house. Okay, my dad also had a copy of The Right Stuff, but that doesn't really count because I didn't really live at my dad's house most of the time. But We had Young Frankenstein. I watched it a billion times. I know this movie backwards and forwards. I know every single beat of it. So it's a little bit difficult for me to tell if it's something that I just outgrew because I saw too many times and because I sort of started associating it with these things that people are just quoting because they remember thinking it's funny rather than it being funny for them to mention it in this moment, you know?
Yeah. Well, like I said, because I haven't seen it in a while, it was very nice to go back and revisit it and find it actually funny. So maybe you have seen it too recently that, like, did you find it a little tedious to watch?
Since I was a kid. No. It's delightful to watch. I think a lot of that has to do, though, I think what I was really appreciating was, like, the storytelling.
Yeah.
Is this, like, the best depiction of Frankenstein in a movie?
Right.
Of the story itself?
So discussing this movie as a Frankenstein story, it has so much that you would want from a Frankenstein story.
Yeah.
And for me, when I want to put on Young Frankenstein, it's not because of the comedy.
Right.
Although I was, like I said, pleasantly satisfied with the amount of chuckles I got out of it. What I want from Young Frankenstein is the spooky aesthetic that you get from other Frankenstein movies. It does the Frankenstein aesthetic perfectly, does it even better because it's, you know, in the future where there's better cameras, better special effects, that type of thing. So it is gorgeous. It has all of the aesthetic I want. It has like these amazing sets with wet looking castle walls, and it has a lot of the original lab equipment from the original Frankenstein sets, which were all created by inventor Kenneth Strickfaden. He even created a Tesla coil.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So the sets are lovely. The music by John Morris is lovely.
Absolutely perfect, yeah.
Cinematography by Gerald Hirschfeld in black and white is gorgeous. And I'm so glad they insisted on it being in black and white because they were originally going to do it with Columbia, but Columbia didn't want it to be in black and white, so they switched over to Fox because they agreed to do it in black and white. Because at this time, they had just moved away from black and white. They didn't want to go back towards it. But all the original Frankenstein movies were in black and white, and they wanted to capture that aesthetic. And I have to say, like, Gene Wilder's face in black and white right in front of a glittering black curtain during the putting on the Ritz scene is just so gorgeous. I can't get over it. Pauline Kael says the style of the picture is controlled excess, and I totally agree. So the aesthetic, the Frankenstein aesthetic goes such a long way with Young Frankenstein, and it does it just as well as any other Frankenstein movie, if not better.
We've just binged a couple of Frankensteins.
I watched all 4 of the Frankenstein movies that inspired this movie, which is the original Frankenstein from 1931, Bride of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, and Ghost of Frankenstein. I just watched all of these in the past couple days. I am like steeped in Frankenstein aesthetic right now.
And it was a fitting time to do so because
yesterday apparently was Frankenstein Day. We are recording this episode August 31st, and August 30th is apparently Frankenstein Day because it is Mary Shelley's birthday.
Yeah.
So that's fun. We didn't even know that.
Hello, this is Sam, recording after the fact.
I just need to jump in because I haven't been so good lately at tossing in the Grateful Dead tie-ins. Sometimes I'm kind of shoving them in when they're not really applicable, but this week, there's a real tie-in. So Frankenstein was a key thematic concern for Jerry Garcia in The Grateful Dead. He drew Frankenstein, the monster, many times. He has this iconic interview with Turner Classic Movies channel where he's talking about movies that opened him up as a child. And he has this famous story about when he saw Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. That is the first moment where he realized what kind of weird sensibility that he wanted to have. And in the documentary about the Grateful Dead, the brilliant documentary made by Amir Bar-Lev, they liberally use sound clips and sound cues and music cues from the original Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. They clearly got the rights to those movies, and then they're like, well, we got the rights, so we got to just use them. And they use music cues and they liberally sprinkle in quotes. And all this week when Elena's been watching, Bride of Frankenstein, and I'll hear like a music cue or I'll hear a little snippet of dialogue, I'm always like, oh my God, is Elena watching Long Strange Trip right now? But of course she's not. She's just watching the actual original Frankenstein. But anyways, that's my Grateful Dead tie-in. And I hope you realize that I needed to come back and explain this to you because it's very important and you're obviously quite entertained by me telling you. Anyways, bye. Frankenstein, I guess, is kind of the ultimate monster. Frankenstein's monster, who in the book is named Adam, by the way, is kind of the iconic monster, I guess I don't really think of, Dracula being a monster in a way.
No. The Mummy is a monster. Wolfman's a monster.
Yeah.
But Frankenstein's the most monstery monster of all the Universal monsters.
Because all he is a monster. The Wolfman is a wolfman.
I mean, the mummy's, I guess, just
But the mummy's a mummy. That's what I'm saying. Like,
He used to
Frankenstein's
be a
monster is a monster. He's not. They don't even call him a ghoul or a zombie or anything. He's a monster.
Yeah.
That's all he is.
Yeah.
This
And
is
when
not,
you
not
think
an interesting point.
When you think of
I'm making
Monster
right now.
Mash, I
Yeah.
think of Frankenstein.
That's true. He is absolutely the person hosting that party.
Yeah. But other things about this movie that make it a really great Frankenstein story.
Yeah.
Gene Wilder's performance as a mad scientist is better, in my opinion, than Colin Clive's performance as Henry Frankenstein in both Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein.
Well, this is a good segue because I kind of want to talk to you about, we were just watching the original Frankenstein, and obviously, it's a cliche to say Bride of Frankenstein's much better, but we watched a little bit of that, and I think it's totally true. It's way better than the original Frankenstein.
Yeah, I just rewatched both movies in full, and yes, Bride of Frankenstein, the pacing is so much better.
Yeah, and I mean, the problem with the original, those movies are short as hell. They're just over an hour long.
Except for Son of Frankenstein. That one's weirdly kind of on the longer side.
Yeah, but Young Frankenstein is an hour 48 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? So it just has so much more plot, and it is so much more Frankenstein-centric. I mean, the Doctor. Like, it's so much more about his journey.
Right.
Than the other movies. And watching the original Frankenstein, and I know it's so different from the book. Like, the book is a much more complicated journey. And, like, obviously in the book, spoiler, the monster can talk.
Have you read the book?
I know. Well, okay, so I have not read the book. I do vividly remember I read an illustrated classic edition of the book, which is like children's versions of these classic books. Has this been brought up on the show before?
I don't remember.
Did I do an illustrated classic edition of something else?
I feel like maybe actually you did. I don't remember what.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I was kind of being a dick just then. I know that you didn't read the book, and I just wanted to call you out on that because I have read the book. So I'm better and smarter than you.
I think I tried to read the book, and it's actually kind of a hard book. Like, it's not quite a children's book.
No.
It's pretty floridly written.
Absolutely not a children's book, but it's beautifully written.
Yeah,
I
very well
love
written.
the prose.
Kind of insane that she never really wrote anything else of note.
Yeah. I don't know if did she just not write anything else, or did she write stuff that didn't become famous?
None of it is very famous. The other connection, I guess I should say to this is, I played Lord Byron in a musical version of the tale of the creation of the story of Frankenstein, which is, if you don't know this, Percy Shelley and Mary Shelley and Lord Byron and a couple of other people hung out at Byron's estate, the Via Diodati, around the time when, in the early 1800s, there was this big Icelandic volcano eruption that enveloped the earth in darkness for a couple of years. Like, it made
a couple of years?
Yeah. For at least a year. Like, it changed the atmosphere because it was such a huge volcanic eruption.
Man, I should learn more history.
No, it's true. And it inspired, and this is this famous contest between these literary figures, including Mary Shelley, who's like 19 at the time, to like who can tell the scariest ghost story. And she comes up with Frankenstein. Nobody else's story has really made it out of there. There was another guy who wrote a prototypical version of a story that Bram Stoker based Dracula on. So we kind of inadvertently got Dracula from that retreat as well. It's a story that's been depicted many times. There's that movie Gothic by what's his name? The guy who did, Lair of the White Worm and Ken Russell. He did a very Ken Russell-esque depiction of the creation of the Frankenstein story and all these people hanging out at Via Diodati and stuff. But I did a musical version of it, which is very campy and fun. This is a story that's kind of close to my heart, and I know a little bit about this. But anyways, my point is, in the book, if memory serves, it's a much more, like, Frankenstein, the scientist, is a much more complicated character than he's depicted in the movies.
Yeah.
The original movies.
It's been such a long time since I've read it, so I'm probably just remembering it totally wrong, but if I remember correctly, it's like his initial reaction to the monster is that he's afraid of it. Mm-hmm. And that was the absolute wrong initial reaction to have, and it really set the monster off on a terrible path, and the whole book is an exploration of nature versus nurture, and what if Frankenstein, the scientist, had done a better job of being there for the monster during its birth,
right,
and like guiding it towards, being introduced to society properly. There's nothing, I don't think that there's anything about him getting a bad brain or anything like that.
Right.
Like the monster, when Sam said that the monster learns to speak in the book, like he's very, very fluent and intellectual and flowery,
and can describe his plight, like the plight of being this hated, freakish figure.
Right.
Right. And that's what makes him want to hurt Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Like that's why he hates him, because he's ruined his life.
Yeah.
Not because there's this whole thing. When we were watching these Frankenstein movies, I was just like, there's something weird about the whole like, oh, you're meddling with God's plans, right? Thing. Like, I don't really relate to any of the moral outrage that Dr. Frankenstein provokes in people. Like, I don't love grave robbing or whatever, but if he's this university biologist who really did figure out how to reanimate dead tissue, and nobody wants to help him with his research or give him any cadavers or anything, I mean, that's kind of on them, considering he actually is capable of raising the dead. No doubt an incredibly valuable scientific endeavor.
Yeah,
but also, it's like, you know, they're like, oh, you're encroaching on the province of God and life and death. This isn't for man to meddle with. It's like, obviously it is. He did it. Like, what are you saying? Or maybe it's distasteful to you, but it's like, this isn't interesting information. This is only shocking and terrible to you, the idea of reanimating a dead thing. You're not a little intrigued?
Yeah.
Nobody is?
No, it's true.
Like,
there are amazing scientific advances in these movies. And Bride of Frankenstein, I don't know if you remember, because I think the little bit that you watched last night, I don't think we got to this part, but there's another scientist inspired by Frankenstein's work where he creates all these like little people who look like perfect little human beings, and they're like moving around and dancing and shit. And I'm like, that's the most amazing thing I've ever fucking seen, and nobody seems to care.
no, like, I would get being driven crazy if you were saying, like, I can bring dead things back to life, and everyone's just like, oh, you're just a fool, sir. It's like, fuck you. I'm supposed to take this shit from you morons who don't even understand what I'm doing? Like, I would feel kind of like, what the fuck do I have to do?
Yeah.
You know, like, and so thus it creates this character of the Doctor in the movie version, which I do think the movie is trying, the original movie, the 1931 film, it's trying very hard to moralize against him. It's like saying, this is so horrible that he would even try to do this. He must be mad. But I don't think that's really the point of the story. I think it's like, the story is a subtler version of like, he realizes that there's problems that he hadn't thought about. But like in the movie version, it's like, everybody's just like, this is so fucked up that you want to reanimate dead things. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, so thus he's totally unsympathetic. The creature's totally unsympathetic. It's weird. Like, I don't know. It's just supposed to be thrills and chills, I guess.
Yeah. Frankenstein's deserving of our empathy, both of them. But the monster and the scientist.
Yeah, and in the movie, they kind of make them both rather unrelatable, I would say, in the original film.
Totally.
Whereas in Young Frankenstein, both pretty good characters.
Yeah, so the monster does have more of the heart that the monster in the book has, I'd say.
Right.
It captures that well.
Yeah,
I don't think he kills anybody.
No, he kills the girl, doesn't he?
In Young Frankenstein?
Oh, in Young Frankenstein. No, because everything's silly. Like,
Right.
I mean, he accidentally doesn't kill the girl because he sits on a seesaw that she makes him sit on, and he makes her fling through the air into her room onto her bed.
Yeah,
luckily.
but he wasn't necessarily going to kill her.
No, but he didn't realize that he wasn't going to kill her when he did that, I think. And so, right, that's what's also funny about in the movie version, the original, sorry to go back to the original Frankenstein. So they changed the story, I know, spoiler for the book, Frankenstein. The monster kills the Dr. Frankenstein's bride on her wedding night. And so they change it in the movie and just have him kill a child, but not this bride. Like, I love the idea that they're like, oh, we can't have him kill this blushing young betrothed woman. We can just have him murder a child. Like, that's socially acceptable.
Because in the book, he tries to save a drowning child. And then people are like seeing him hold the child in his arms and assume that he killed the child.
Right.
And so then they shoot him.
Yeah.
I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Like, beautiful young woman, bad, don't kill her. We need her to stay in the movie.
Right.
Kill that girl.
Yeah.
It is pretty harrowing watching the father hold
Yeah.
the dead child walking through the streets. Like, I could see why people were a little shocked by that.
It's pretty shocking. Yeah.
Yeah. But back to Young Frankenstein.
Yes.
Okay, so I think Gene Wilder did an amazing job at the mad scientist. His ability to seem totally reasonable and smart and intelligent and then go off on his crazy hysterics is just astounding.
His opening scene is just so masterful when the kid's talking about, like, didn't your own grandfather reanimate dead tissue? And Wilder's just staring off into space. He just goes, yes, yes. we all know what he did. Like, it's just this perfect depiction of somebody who's lived with something for their entire life and they've heard it 60 billion times. It's just such a weird moment to want to depict, but it's never been equaled in cinema, I think.
When I was watching Gene Wilder do this performance, I was like, Sam could do this.
There is a musical version of it.
I feel like you have a Gene Wilder in Young Frankenstein type vibe.
I think I could pull it off. I could do it. You're right.
I mean, I'm not saying you could be as good as Gene Wilder because he's a fucking master, but
Yeah. You want to go to Wilder?
Yes.
The progenitor of this film.
Right. It was his idea.
Yes.
He was on the set of Blazing Saddles, working on the script, convinced Mel Brooks to do it with him.
I've heard one version of the story that is my favorite version, where it's just he's writing something in between scenes. Mel comes up to him and says, "Hey, what are you writing?" And Gene Wilder says some version of just like, well, it's like a parody of Frankenstein, but it's about his grandson, and his grandson's ashamed of him, so he wants to be called Frankenstein instead of Frankenstein. And Mel's just like, I'll do it. That's enough for me. Like, there's a movie there, which is that is the whole movie.
Yeah. And
like, that's all it is.
But it's funny because, like, Son of Frankenstein and Ghost of Frankenstein are both about the two sons of Frankenstein taking their father's place. So it's like already kind of doing something that already existed.
In the original Frankenstein movie, his father plays a role, and they say many times, here's to young Frankenstein, referring to just Frankenstein.
Yeah. It's just funny how much of this movie isn't actually original. It's just straight up doing the Frankenstein stuff. Like the policeman with the wooden arm in Young Frankenstein, who's like moving the arm in crazy ways and stuff. There's a weird policeman with a wooden arm in Son of Frankenstein. And there's a part in Son of Frankenstein where that policeman like is playing darts with the Frankenstein character, and he like sticks the darts into his arm, just like in Young Frankenstein. And you're like, what the fuck's going on here? So that's already comedic. There's like already comedic stuff that they just pulled from and put in Young Frankenstein.
Can I say something? I've never been very amused by Inspector Kemp.
Well, I wanted to ask, like, how do you think the humor in this movie works for the references to Frankenstein stuff? Like, I've seen Young Frankenstein before seeing any of the original Frankenstein movies. Yeah. I still found it very funny.
Right.
But maybe the Frankenstein references weren't as funny.
Well, there's a couple of... This movie's humor is very odd in its rhythms, which Mel Brooks, he considers himself a student of comedy rhythms. He was a drummer. He thinks that all jokes have to have a rim shot kind of... as you can see, there's sort of very, like, pointed endings to every scene and sequence and every bit in Young Frankenstein. There's the I was going to make espresso ending to the scene, which I think is kind of weak, frankly.
The Gene Hackman
scene. Which
yeah.
I always found it kind of... But it's like Mel Brooks needs to have some ending, and he needs to have this rhythm. But this movie has a very weird rhythm because it's also going for early filmmaking styles, which they are very slow and ponderous compared to the 70s movies. Brooks also has this obsession with, he feels like a lot of like comedy directors, when he was just starting out, he would see them making the mistake where they would stay on the person who's saying the joke rather than see the reaction. So I feel like he's very obsessed with having these like moments where characters just make a weird reaction face. So then you're just kind of sitting in a scene for a second longer, and you just see like Gene Wilder just like looking off into space. And it's like, it's kind of cool. But it also makes this movie, like, very weird rhythmically, I think. Let me just try and run down a joke quick. Maybe we'll put a clip in here, okay? But, like, the joke when he's yelling... It's a direct callback to the original Frankenstein. He's yelling up at Igor, who's up tying a kite to the lightning rod.
Right.
Right? Above. And it's a shot from above, and Gene Wilder's yelling. He's like, there's a possibility for electrocution. And he's like, what? He's like, I said there's a possibility for electrocution. Get down here.
Now tie off the kites and hurry down as fast as you can.
What's the hurry?
There's the possibility of electrocution. Do you understand? I say there's the possibility of electrocution. Do you understand?
I understand. Why are you shouting?
Did you tie off the kites?
Of course.
Oh. All right, good.
And then he just gets down there fast, and Frankenstein's like, oh, how did you get here so fast? And it's like, was I supposed to find it funny that he got there? It was sort of punchy, but it was also, the joke is in how it's underplayed in a way. Like, what's the joke there? Like, it's not really tight, or maybe the looseness is meant to be part of it for an audience in the early 70s.
Well, I think this is the type of movie where it's like there are jokes. It's
Yes.
not situational humor. There are just straight
Sometimes
up-
it's situational.
Sometimes, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of jokes in it. And in my opinion, with these kind of movies, you just have to accept that a certain percentage of the jokes are not going to land.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as some of them land, then it's like, yeah, that's a funny movie.
I mean, there's a lot of the stupid Borscht Belt jokes that aren't worth anything, but just give me one, he was my boyfriend, and I'm good. Like, that is like one of the funniest fucking things I've ever... Every second Cloris Leachman is on screen is amazing.
I mean, in terms of like seeing characters' reactions, I love her reaction
Yes.
to when the horses are neighing and
Yeah.
she's like, looks a little hurt by it.
Right.
Like, oh, why do you guys think I'm so awful?
Perfect
you know?
example, yeah.
And it's just so subtle and
Yes.
well done that I love that extra attention to her reaction. But in terms of the comedy style, there's aspects about it that's 70s
Mm-hmm.
because there's like silly sex comedy stuff like What Knockers and erection
Is that
jokes.
funny? Like, did I find that funny as a kid? I can't really be sure.
I don't know,
if
but
I
I
ever
think
found that funny.
But I think that Mel Brooks was one of the first ones to do that kind of sex humor.
But is that joke... You're right that obviously, like, some of it is just this version. It's the kind of thing that Fosse would do, like, in some things where he just throws in a curse word and the audience laughs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so some of it is just, like, being dirty, right?
Right.
But is part of the joke, this is a really stupid joke? When
I
he
think
says, what
so.
knockers? Like,
I
it's
think
like,
it is.
are you supposed to be like, oh, God, like when he does that and you're laughing at the fact that he put this in this serious movie?
Yeah. I think you are supposed to. But so there is like a modern aspect to the humor, but then it's also very callback to vaudeville style humor.
Yeah.
Like Mel Brooks says that he used old vaudeville bits in this. Like the walk this way line with Igor is apparently a vaudeville shtick that's been done before.
And ultimately gave us rap music when Run DMC sampled Aerosmith's Walk This Way.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Aerosmith's Walk This Way song was inspired by Young Frankenstein.
That's right.
Just such a crazy fact.
So yeah, that's a really old joke. And again, a stupid one that I just don't think I ever found funny as a kid.
I think I found it funny.
Okay. Well, okay then. But there's some jokes that, and Brooks talked about, like, the plot joke, that they could never sacrifice plot for a laugh. And some of the best bits are plot moments, like the candle in the bookcase.
Yeah.
That whole sequence is both very funny, I would say, but also it's like, you're excited about this moment.
Right.
Where they found this secret
passage.
passageway, and you're
Ooh.
genuinely like, ooh, this is kind of interesting, but it's also like funny. And it's kind of how you imagine it might happen to you in real life if you actually found a secret passageway that you
Yeah.
had to manipulate in a certain way. So those are the most satisfying ones, I think. Okay, I'm sorry to keep dissecting jokes, but like...
Wait, so do you not think Young Frankenstein is that funny? Like I said, I watch it more for the spooky aesthetic. The funniness is a nice addition, but jokes are not the main thing for me.
I want to dissect a couple more jokes and then go back to just our relationship to comedy.
Okay.
Well, maybe just like one thing that I'm just saying. So is his name actually pronounced Igor, or is that just a bit that he's doing to fuck with this guy who's clearly pronouncing his own name incorrectly?
I thought it was a bit. Like,
Yeah.
my name is spelled Alana.
Yes.
Like Alana. But I pronounce it Elena. And one time, when I was moving into my freshman college dorm, I introduced myself to my new roommate and I was like, hey, my name's Elena. And she's like, oh, okay. My name's Madalena. And I'm like,
Good bit.
okay. But she had like spent the entire car ride training her parents how to correctly say my name as Alana. So
Yeah.
she was saying it wrong. And she just like assumed I was like making a joke or something like that.
Right.
So I do think that was what the Igor joke was. Igor.
Do you like Marty Feldman in this?
Yeah, I think he's funny. Pauline Kael thought he was a little too over the top, I believe.
I feel like I've never really been that into it. Although, again, he's got some of the best little reaction moments. Like, he'll like sort of do a smile to himself and it doesn't break me at all. I mean, it does break me up.
I thought he was funny, but he does the thing, he breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And Mel Brooks is not really in this movie. He's got a cameo as one of the angry German villagers, and he does some of the like...
He does the voice of the original Frankenstein. When they first look at the laboratory and you hear like echoes of the past, when it's like, oh, pull the switch, Igor. And it's like, yes, master. It's clearly Mel Brooks doing
He
it.
also does the like cat screech noise and stuff. But I heard two different reasons for why Wilder didn't want Brooks in the movie. One reason is what Mel Brooks says in his autobiography, that Gene Wilder wanted Mel Brooks to just focus on directing. But I read elsewhere that Gene Wilder didn't want Mel Brooks to be breaking the fourth wall and winking at the audience so much. Like, he just wanted to play the script straight because he thought the script was good enough. He didn't want all of that. But Marty Feldman is doing that fourth wall breaking. So I could imagine people might not liking that performance as much because it's bringing in this breaking the fourth wall thing that takes you out of this amazing story that Young Frankenstein is creating for you.
By the way, just quick aside, was it Gene Wilder's agent called him up and was like, by the way, do you have anything for Marty Feldman and or Peter Boyle? Who Marty Feldman plays Igor, Peter Boyle plays the monster. Because they just happen to have the same agent as Gene Wilder's agent. It's like, well, I guess I do. I'm doing Young Frankenstein. These guys are never in anything else. Like, they're just so perfect to play the henchman and the monster.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Well, I do have something for these two guys, particularly. So, yeah, this precedes a moment where Mel Brooks begins to act in the lead role in his movies for the next several ones that he does after this. He's the lead in, I think, Silent Movie and High Anxiety and To Be or Not, his remake of To Be or Not to Be. And then, he has slightly bigger roles in stuff like Spaceballs. And now he's also the lead in History of the World Part 1. This is when Mel Brooks, this is probably the last moment you could tell Mel Brooks to not be in his movie, I would say.
And then he gets too big.
He gets a little too big, I think.
I mean, this movie is not just Mel Brooks' movie, it's also Gene Wilder's movie.
Absolutely.
So I think that's something to really keep in mind with Young Frankenstein. And I think it's one of the reasons why it's like such a good, just straight up movie.
Right.
Because like all of Mel Brooks' other stuff, it's about the comedy.
Yeah.
And this is, as Mel Brooks said in his autobiography, it's 50-50, like 50% comedy, 50% story.
Yeah,
and you can see that.
You can. And again, this movie does stuff with the Frankenstein story that you don't get in these really thin early versions of that are just monster movies, right? Like, the whole part of him having to convince the monster that he is loved, that's like funny, but also an interesting place for the story to go. And then they take it to this place where he's presenting him to the public, and it's kind of a bit of a King Kong riff.
Yeah.
Is that in any of the other movies?
The King Kong part? No.
The parts where he's presenting the monster to people,
No.
or where he teams up with the monster, even for a second.
No.
Yeah, like, and that's the purest Brooksian moment is the putting on the Ritz scene.
Yeah.
Because Mel Brooks is show business, musical theater
Right.
in his blood. I mean, his uncle took him to see Anything Goes when he was a child, and that was when he realized what he wanted to do. And he always wanted to be, The Producers is a movie, but it was a movie about the theater. I think many people would argue he reached his fullest apex when he ultimately started making musicals.
But it's ironic, though, because Gene Wilder is the one who had to fight for putting on the Ritz scene to be in the movie.
Exactly.
Mel Brooks didn't think it fit.
Yeah. And first of all, I just want to say, Putting on the Ritz is such a perfect choice because I've always found that song to be actually a little creepy in its tune. You know, the like, isn't that a little spooky?
Yeah, it is kind of.
Like that early jazzy stuff, they come around to coolness in a sort of roundabout, spooky way, I think. A lot of those Gershwin-y kind of syncopated tunes and stuff. That might be a Rodgers and Hart song. I'm not exactly sure. But anyways, that song's perfect. The way they choreographed the number is so brilliant. Gene Wilder is silken smooth perfection in this song and dance man role. And then they choreograph the monster's ability level as a dancer so right. Like, it's like they've clearly choreographed this. So it's like, look, it's going to lean heavily on Dr. Frankenstein, but the monster, we can give him a couple of key moments and he can really sell it. He does the little...
He's like knocking his chin.
Punches on its chin and just the little expression of coy. Oh, you didn't just do that from the monster. It's like, yes, that's exactly what. And again, I also just love that the monster fucks up the dance and the audience starts booing him. And that's when they deem his experiment to be a failure. The fact that this monster can't complete a dance. And the doctor's like, keep going. You're going to make me look like an idiot. Like, it's like, you've raised him from the dead. They really would still deem you a failure at this point.
I love that you're poking holes in Young Frankenstein.
I just think it's so funny how he's literally a reanimated corpse, and then when he doesn't complete this amazing dance number, they're like, boo! And they start. It's genuinely very funny, I think.
That is one of the most iconic scenes of all time.
Absolutely. It's just like the thing of how he's not saying putting on the Ritz correctly, but you still want to be like, yeah, good job. like he didn't do it right, and yet you're still amazed by it because you're like, it's like a dog talking or whatever. I guess I don't know, but it's just so.
It's really cute.
It's such a weird joke, but I love it.
Peter Boyle did an amazing job.
You love Peter Boyle. We've talked about him before. He's a returning person.
Yeah, he was a wizard in Taxi Driver.
Yeah. We'll talk about him again. We'll talk about Joe, certainly. He's really good in the role.
Yeah. God, but I just want to keep talking about how amazing Gene Wilder is. I just fucking love that man so much. Like, his glittery eyes. He's got this sex appeal that is just so weird, but I love it so much. Fucking love Gene Wilder.
He pulled down Terry Garr from this.
What?
Terry Garr, I think, started dating him after this.
I don't know who Terry Garr is. The lab assistant?
Yeah.
They started dating after this?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, no, Gene Wilder is kind of a stick man, if you know what I'm saying.
I don't know what stick man means.
Okay. Well,
is that a dick joke?
The ladies liked Gene Wilder.
Pauline Kael.
You finding him sexually appealing is not extremely unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pauline Kael was like, he's getting hotter and hotter with each role he's in, especially like this one with his mustache. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what she said in the review.
His hair looks great. He had this thing where when Mel Brooks originally met him, he saw him doing a production of Mother Courage and Her Children starring Anne Bancroft, which is Mel Brooks's longtime wife.
Yeah.
And Wilder, this is very early in his career, he probably didn't fully understand his own power yet. He was very disturbed by that he was getting laughs when he wasn't trying to. And Brooks just like laughed and he said, I mean, just look at your face, man. Blame God. I don't know. And I fully relate to this because I feel like I'm a person sometimes on stage where if I'm going for a laugh, I never get one. But if I say a serious line, I guess I am like Gene Wilder. You're right.
Yeah.
Thanks, honey.
You just need to grow your hair out.
Yeah.
For it to be crazy poofy.
Yeah.
And wear some mascara.
And maybe start talking a little softly. And then sometimes getting very loud. You know?
I appreciate that you leaned back from the mic for that.
Right. To go back to Terry Garr, kind of wasted in this movie.
I mean, she's doing the hot chick thing. What do you think wasted? Is she a better actress than she comes across?
Oh, yes. Terry, yes.
I don't know her. What's she in?
Oh, she's in Close Encounters and Mr. Mom and Tootsie and I mean, she probably never really got her due. It's true. I mean, she's fine. She got a couple of good, but Madeline Kahn is certainly walking away with most of the scenes that she's in.
Yeah.
Leachman is probably the MVP of the female cast.
You think Cloris Leachman's better than Madeline Kahn in this? I mean, they're both so good.
They're really good. Leachman, I genuinely find almost everything about Frau Blucher funny except for the horse neighing part.
I think that.
But just,
look, it is funny, okay? You just think it's not funny because people have done it too much.
Maybe, but I've also just, I guess I get. It's hard for me to know if, I did find this stuff funny, because, I grew very tired of this. And then I feel like I rediscovered Blazing Saddles as an adult and was like, now this is fucking funny. That's, every second, Howard Johnson is right. That shit gets me every time. And this is full of a lot of jokes that I just don't fully get where they're going with them. But when she's going up the stairs and he says, so that means that this, and she goes, yes. And he's like, and that means that you, yes. She has so many different versions of yes, and everyone gets me. And then, of course, culminating with he was my boyfriend, which is the pinnacle of comedy writing, in my opinion.
Pauline Kael kind of has a little crush on Madeline Kahn in her review. She actually has this really lovely quote. She says, Madeline Kahn has an extra dimension of sexiness. She's flirtatious in a self-knowing way, and everything that's wrong about her is sexy. You look at her and think, what a beautiful translucent skin on such a big jaw. What a statuesque hourglass figure, especially where the sand has slipped. I love that line, especially where the sand has slipped.
Yeah.
I don't even know exactly what she's talking about there. Maybe a little saggy boob or whatever. I don't know, but it's just a lovely way of writing it. And then she says, Madeline Kahn is funny and enticing because she's soaked in passion. When you look at her, you see a waterbed at just the right temperature. Kael wanted to jump in that waterbed.
It's true. That as sandy as it may be. Mel Brooks seems to be quite obsessed with Madeline Kahn liking big dicks.
Is that in something else too? Is that
in Blazing Saddles? She's tired. Let's face it. Everything below the waist is kaput. You don't remember Blazing Saddles? You don't remember this?
No, I'm excited to rewatch.
That's the whole Lily von Stupp thing.
I
It's
remember
like, she
the
needs a guy with a big dick.
die. I remember like,
I'm
the way she says it.
tired. Marlene Dietrich.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But yeah, this is the same bit is Madeline Kahn. But again, okay, so to get to another joke that I don't think I get. I think even as a child, I've never gotten taffeta darling, taffeta sweetheart. Like,
I get that joke.
I get it, but I'm like,
It's just making fun of the New York socialite who's like, too careful about her appearances that you can't touch her anywhere.
No,
you
I'm
can't
saying-
kiss her on the lips. You can't say taffeta. And like, it is funny here being like, taffeta, darling. I don't know.
no, but the joke is that I think I read the script once or something, and the joke is he doesn't understand what she's saying. He thinks she's just saying some newfangled form of affection, and he's repeating it back to her. But then she goes, no, the dress is taffeta. Like, he doesn't know what taffeta is, and he thinks he's just saying, I love you in a foreign language or something.
I think that's an aspect of the joke, but I don't think that's the main point of the joke.
Well, anyways, when I watch the joke, I'm just like, it's a thing where I know this is a joke, and I guess it's working on me at a mechanical level. But a lot of it, I'm like, I don't know if I find this funny.
I just want to say, do you think it was the same casting director for Bogdanovich?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, yes. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who are in What's Up Doc and the early Bogdanovich films that Brooks then hired.
Yeah, so Madeline Kahn's in What's Up Doc and Paper Moon. Cloris Leachman was in The Last Picture Show. And I feel like there were a couple other people you
Inspector
mentioned.
Kemp.
He's yeah.
And also the guy at the beginning who gets the clamp on his neck. He's the judge in What's Up Doc. He's so funny in Blazing Saddles when he's like, if we're going to do this, and I think it's a big mistake. So
You were just like
I just want
laughing.
to quote Blazing Saddles.
You were laughing at and making fun of Mel Brooks for just doing the jokes in his autobiographies.
Oh, and now I'm just doing it.
Yeah, now you're just doing
But I'm doing
it.
jokes I'm doing the actually funny jokes from the other movies.
Great, because that's better, talking about other movies more than talking about this movie we're covering today.
Okay.
Wait, we forgot to add some spookiness. Can we just please add a spooky sound effect right now? In case our listeners have missed the spooky aesthetic. Okay, great. Let's continue.
Let's add in a spookier one now. It's too spooky.
Too spooky. Go back to just normal, happy spooky. Perfect.
Okay. So do you want to talk about comedy?
I felt like we kind of did, but
No, we didn't. No, comedy in general. Our relationship
sure,
to comedy.
sure.
Okay.
So you think I'm not funny?
No.
You think I don't appreciate funny stuff?
I think you avowedly have claimed this about many things.
I don't like silly funny. I don't like funny that's based on people being stupid.
Right.
I do prefer more situational funny stuff, but I usually don't seek out comedies. I don't like when I want to chill and just watch like a TV show, I'm not going to put a comedy on. I'm going to put Vampire Diaries or some like silly romance drama TV show on. I'm not a huge comedy person, but there are lots of things that I do think are very funny. And anything I think is very funny, you don't think is funny. Like you don't like, as we've said many times before, I like Joss Whedon style humor, and you do not.
It's not that I don't. Again, there's moments that he has made me laugh. Okay, like I feel like there's some Apatow comedies that you've liked. You've enjoyed an Apatow comedy or two.
Sure, like I can enjoy comedies when I'm watching them, but
okay, well,
I don't.
That's not even what I'm
love
saying.
them.
Can we just go through some iconic comedies?
Okay.
Do you care at all about like Monty Python movies?
So that's yes,
right,
but
like,
because we like would quote them all the time growing up and stuff. If I watched it as an adult for the first time, I probably would not enjoy it. But there's a lot to be said for. I care about it because of the experience of bonding with my family over it.
Okay, like.
And like I think that on a previous episode when we had Frank Godlewski on, when we were talking about heavy traffic, he said that I introduced him to Monty Python.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's crazy because like I don't even identify with Monty Python that much. That's a hilarious thing to say. But I grew up with it. I'm sure that I told people this is great. Watch this because I watched it with my family.
Okay, Jim Carrey, Adam Sandler, Mike Myers, any of this stuff. Do you care about this stuff?
I used to think that I liked Jim Carrey, but then when I was looking through my movie list where I ranked all the films, Jim Carrey movies were always at the bottom.
Yeah.
And so now I'm kind of a Jim Carrey hater, even though
Austin Powers?
No,
No, like
really.
Okay, like
they're too silly stupid.
Okay.
Like I don't like Kimmy Schmidt.
You don't like Kimmy Schmidt. You're not a big 30 Rock fan either.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You do like Community.
I feel like you told a friend of yours this and she was like, "Oh, you should dump this person."
There was definitely this chick that I was working with once who was clearly had a little bit of an eye on me, and we bonded over humor. And when she found out, when I characterized you to her as somebody who has avowedly said you don't really like comedy or care about, she was definitely very like, why are you with this chick?
Because you're a very funny person.
I guess, like,
One of the things I love about you is that you make me laugh. So I do like funny stuff. I like you. I love
you like
you.
boyfriend humor. But like, yeah, regardless of how I come off on this podcast, sometimes I can be funny. But okay, I'm sorry, keep going through, like, Caddyshack, any SNL movies, Airplane, any of the Naked Gun, any of those parodies and stuff like that.
Not really my thing.
No, Steve Martin you hate.
I hate Steve Martin.
Woody
I
Allen
hate him.
movies you don't really care for the comedy, right? Will Ferrell. Do you like Will Ferrell?
Yes, but I'm not that interested in watching his movies, but I think he's funny.
Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson.
I like Owen Wilson.
You like Owen Wilson. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. You don't like stand-up?
No, I hate stand-up.
Right?
I hate it.
You do like Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, I didn't realize this, but like we watched Up in Smoke somewhat recently. And It was my first time watching it. I'm like, I assumed I would hate this movie, but
Right.
it is really fucking good.
Super Troopers, Spaceball, Old School, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I like Spaceballs.
You like Spaceballs. Do you like Mel Brooks?
I guess I do. I love Blazing Saddles.
Yes. So I know you do, right?
So I think that Mel Brooks is the closest to stupid, silly comedy I can get.
Yeah. Like, but you don't like Farrelly Brothers. Like, I could keep going through this stuff, but I think I'm making my point, right? Like,
Did
you don't
Farrelly
have
Brothers
any
do
affection
Dumb and
for this
Dumber?
stuff. Yes.
I haven't seen Dumb and Dumber, but like I dated this guy and his parents one time. Like, we never really interacted with his parents much, and they disapproved because, he was a good Christian boy, and I would stay over sometimes, and they didn't like that. But one night, they really wanted us to stay in and watch Dumb and Dumber with them around the fireplace.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was the cutest thing ever. Like, we were going to put on, like, hot cocoa and watch Dumb and Dumber together as this, like, as a family unit and curl up in front of the fireplace, and I'd never seen it, and I was so down. But John didn't want us to do that. He thought it sounded so lame, and so we snuck out and went to a bar instead. And I'm not like a bar person, I don't love going out and drinking. So this was entirely his thing. I wanted to stay in and watch Dumb and Dumber with his parents, and to this day I regret that we didn't have that experience. That could have been magical. And I still haven't seen Dumb and Dumber. I probably will hate it, but I do really want to watch it.
We tried to watch There's Something About Mary recently. I think neither one of us felt like that was holding up.
No.
Yeah, it's another Farrelly Brothers.
Okay, but yes, you made the point that I don't like a lot of classic comedies.
You
that
don't
involve
go in
silly,
for a comedy.
stupid stuff.
You don't. Do you like This Is Spinal Tap?
Oh, I like that kind of thing.
That kind of stuff has.
But I'm still not gonna be seeking it out.
Right. So, and I think for me, it's not even that I really, really like this stuff that much more than, like, I have a friend Steve, right, who is incredibly attuned to comedy. Like, he will seek out things that are in a comedic milieu, I would say. Maybe he's going to disagree with how this is being characterized. I don't know. He's one of the only people who listens to this podcast, so, enjoy this shout out. And I think that he would say, and I would maybe agree with him, that, like, I've become less interested in comedy than when I was younger. But I also think that's kind of me moving along with society. I think society's a little bit less interested in comedy than when we were kids. Would you agree?
Yeah.
We obviously don't have new modern film comedies that are going to be passed down to a new generation. And comedy ages very fast. So I don't think a lot of these movies are going to be keeping passed down the way they were to my generation.
I'm gonna pass down Mean Girls to my kids,
Yeah,
and my
that's a great one.
grandkids. Like, that one, I think will always be funny.
There will be some, for sure. And, like, that's a very funny movie. But again, it's like, it's deeper. Like, it's not just going for laughs, I would say, I do think there's a certain thing of this kind of, like, dad bonding with the younger generation thing where they kind of explain to you what funniness is. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's over with. And I don't know if I turned off of Young Frankenstein as I was sensing myself growing away from it, or if I genuinely just think that it was always a little bit of a thing where people were just more impressed with it than I think it's actually is funny. I obviously can't put myself. I know that this broke people the fuck up when it came out, but I also just think that it's just like a really good movie that's got a lot of, like, cool aspects to it. But it's like, I don't think this movie is, like, I would never show this to a person and be like, get ready to laugh.
I think it is just a good movie. But I think that a lot of things that make this movie funny is the quotable lines. And I think you mentioned before we don't really quote stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that style of appreciating humor, like laughing with your friends and just quoting lines is a little bit lame nowadays.
And now we just send them memes that are a template that has been used for everything for the last year until we get sick of it.
Yeah, can't wait for that to be over. But you described this style of humor as like a dad explaining to the next generation why it's funny. For me, it wasn't that. It was me and my siblings giggling together about the same lines and the same things and repeating it with my siblings and my parents, but we were all enjoying it together. There was no explanation behind it. And I think it was like an unselfconscious just enjoying the funny without overthinking it that it can't really get nowadays. Maybe because I'm too old, maybe because humor's changed a bit. I don't know. But I still really enjoyed watching this movie. I was delighted in the comedy. But I think the filmmaking of it is the thing that really shines. And Mel Brooks has said before that he considers it one of his finest movies, although not his funniest movie.
I would agree.
And that's a great way of putting it.
It's just a movie that I know too well. I saw it too many times at an age when I was young enough to soak it up like a sponge. There's nothing about it that's going to thrill me or surprise me. But I also just think I think there was this thing with me. This is what I'm trying to get at. Is like, I feel like I was pretending a little bit to like this stuff kind of to myself as a kid. And I wonder if there was a lot of other people like that, where it's like, yeah, that's funny. But it's like, I don't actually think it's funny. I think it's just cute that you find it so funny, Dad. Probably when I was about 12 or 13, I think I started being like, I don't actually like Young Frankenstein. I think that's a movie that I just thought I liked because it's like one of those comedies that you're supposed to like.
I know what you mean. But it is a great movie.
Yeah, I don't want to be down on it at all. Like, because it's a movie that I don't like. I remember having this very annoying conversation with somebody where they were wearing a Young Frankenstein shirt. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, like Young Frankenstein was like a cool shirt. It's a great poster. It's a great image.
Yeah.
And the opening credits, too, are really cool because like they start off with this very stark, almost Lynchian, called forward to Mel Brooks producing The Elephant Man, a Mel Brooks film, white on a black background. And then they have the great stone monument Young Frankenstein look for the title. And then in the credits, they move into this kind of old-fashioned Germanic storybook things. It's like they cycle through these different fonts, and all of them are just very artfully done and a wonderful touch.
Yeah. Just
in the opening credits. But, like, so I saw this person who had this shirt that was like Young Frankenstein. I was like, oh, that's cool, Young Frankenstein. And they were like, oh, cool. Like, are you a fan? I was like, I'm more of a Blazing Saddles person. And they go, isn't that movie like hella canceled? This is a direct quote, by the way. And I was like, no. And that also really disturbed me because it is. There's so many people who love to make the argument that, like, nobody thinks Blazing Saddles couldn't be made today, really, or whatever. But it's like, this person was under the impression that was a canceled movie or whatever. And then I'm just like, okay, so is Young Frankenstein just the movie that's canonical because it's less edgy than Blazing Saddles? You know?
It is kind of crazy for somebody to say, like, oh, isn't that movie canceled?
They literally said hella canceled.
Had they seen it?
No, again, and that's the whole problem with is like people just hear something in a game of telephone, and that's the whole problem with this. It's not the problem that obviously there are bad things and there are things that we don't need to worry about, but it's just this turns it into such a shorthand of like, I don't have to engage with that. Anyways.
I don't know if we've explicitly said that Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein came out in the same year.
Is this the best year that any filmmaker other than maybe Spielberg has ever had? Their two greatest films in one year?
Yeah, I mean, French Connection and Exorcist comes close, but that's one after another. Mm-hmm. Not the same year, right?
Yeah, and I would say that there's other high points that you could point to with Friedkin. I mean, Mel Brooks' three best movies are The Producers, Blazing Saddles, and Young Frankenstein, full stop. If you really want to argue with that, I don't even know what to tell you.
Yeah, so I think one of the New Hollywood aspects is obviously the New Hollywood people associated with this movie, and I think that this movie is a peak for a lot of these people. Yeah. I think this is peak Mel Brooks, peak Gene Wilder, and peak Madeline Kahn.
Peak Leachman, too.
Peak Leachman.
Yeah.
I mean, she did so much TV.
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, I mean, this is like coming off her Oscar win and now plays her most iconic character. It's so different.
Yeah.
Like maybe she might disappear into the role a little too much, you could argue.
Yeah. But other New Hollywood people involved, you know, Gene Hackman in his cameo where a lot of people didn't even recognize him. Peter Boyle. Well, I guess that's
arguably
it.
his peak. I don't know. It's
No, I'm not going to call it his peak because he's like not doing that much in this
Right.
movie, but he does what little he does so well.
yeah, certainly Marty Feldman's peak.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the peak of starting to take comedy seriously. I don't know if film comedy ever reached the heights. I mean, the level of incisive, biting commentary that Blazing Saddles starts off the year for Brooks with, and then the mastery of filmmaking that Young Frankenstein ends with. It's such a range. It's such a high level. I don't think that anybody could ever make two comedy movies that are that funny and good and have lasted this long.
Yeah, it's super impressive. But in terms of the new Hollywood aspects, like Blazing Saddles is way more of a new Hollywood
Absolutely,
movie.
yes.
Like this is like a callback vaudeville style comedy.
And it really does have that Gene Wilder touch. And
Yeah.
Gene Wilder was an old-fashioned soul.
Yeah.
The reason that Gene Wilder stopped making movies, according to him, is they started using too many swear words and were too dirty.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
I know. Like his one, I don't know if it's his one direct, but one of his, the film that he wanted to do forever was Haunted Honeymoon, which is his film that he did with his wife, Gilda Radner, where he's playing like an old-fashioned radio sound effects guy. Like he's a person who lives in the 30s and 40s. Like this has a gentle touch that is almost not that Brooksian, you could say.
And so it makes it a little out of time.
Yes.
With other 70s films.
Right. Again, like parody, this is really when parody has to be actually coming into vogue, because it's like, how could parody really have any bite until you're really able to say dirty words? Like, how could you really make a funny parody of something when you have the Hays Code?
Yeah.
And
this also has a 70s comedy style in the sense that it's like very New York-y. And obviously, like, this is the rise of Jewish comedians in the mainstream. Like, Mel Brooks and Woody Allen dominate
Right.
the 70s.
Mel Brooks has said in his autobiography, it really is more New York humor than Jewish humor. It's more guys standing on street corners trying to break each other up by making fun of each other in a sort of fast-talking New York-y way. But yes, the rise of this certain kind of these guys who came up in 50s TV, writing for Sid Caesar, working on Your Show of Shows, and really figuring out the rhythms of filmed comedy.
I think I found a really hard time trying to get a sense of what was the comedic style of the 70s. And there's not as much written about it. And there's not as much, it's not as examined as much. Maybe I'm totally wrong about this, but it feels like a really underexplored aspect of New Hollywood that I was struggling with when prepping for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, the basics are, as far as I'm concerned, you got Mel Brooks, you got Woody Allen, you got, in the later half, it's then dominated by the rise of SNL and National Lampoon, Airplane, Caddyshack, and once you get the SNL pipeline going, that's really where comedy leads to. But comedy is often considered a bit of a ghettoized genre. Not many comedies get listed as the greatest films of all time.
Yeah.
There is a certain kind of embarrassment about starting in comedy that some actors seem to have. They seem to want to transition from being a comedic actor to a serious actor. Robin Williams, even somebody like Woody Allen to a certain degree. And this is due to the fact that A, comedy ages very quickly, and B, it's hard to get laughs, but if you can do that, you kind of have to worry a lot less about other aspects of the filmmaking, and you can kind of coast a little bit. And I do think that, I don't find it very weird to me that comedy is considered lesser than drama, because I do think that comedy, it's oftentimes a one-shot deal. Like, you can't really laugh that hard at a joke you already know. You know what I mean? So it's like, I can rewatch There Will Be Blood a million times, and every time I watch it, I can find a new thing that he does funny. But I can't really find a totally new thing funny about Young Frankenstein every time I watch it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So I do think that comedy, it doesn't have as much of a shelf life, and that's why it's never going to be, as deep for people. Though this movie, I think, has
So much more than just comedy.
So much more than just comedy, and that's why I think it's lasted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I just want to say, again, it creates the perfect spooky atmosphere. And that's why I think it was a great movie to start us off in October. Cold Stone?
Cold Stone?
Yeah.
Slap it on the cold slab.
I want to go ahead and cold stone all 4 of the Frankenstein movies.
Great.
I guess you can't really do this.
I remember the first 2.
Okay. Original Frankenstein.
Like it.
It's a love it for me, accepting its flaws. Like, I'm accepting its flaws and saying it's a love it because it's what I want on in the background when I'm throwing a Halloween party or something. You know, it created the aesthetic.
It's boring.
It is boring. That's why it's a background movie.
It's an hour 10 long movie that half of it is very boring.
The opening is great.
Yes.
But it's a love it for me, despite the fact that it's boring. Like I said, it's an ambiance movie, and I appreciate what it created. Bride of Frankenstein.
Gotta have it.
Gotta have it.
No.
And then Son of Frankenstein and Ghost of Frankenstein, which you didn't see, right. I've seen. They don't make the scale.
Yeah.
They just are capturing some of the fun aspects of the original 2 movies, but barely. And there's a lot of boring stuff. Young Frankenstein, what do you think?
It's tough. You know, I know that I've been wrestling with a lot of stuff about, and I don't want to come like I don't want to come off like I don't like this movie. I want to come off more like I don't like this movie in the way that
other people do.
Yeah. There's a deep connection and a deep affection that people feel for this that I think I had a real moment when I was a preteen or a teenager that I was like, you know what? Mel Brooks, I don't think I really care that much about him. I enjoy him. Look, he wrote a musical called The Producers, which is still has the most Tonys of any musical in the history of Broadway, more than Hamilton. Granted, this is largely due to a technicality because the Tonys foolishly got rid of the sound design category, which is why Hamilton couldn't win. Also, Philippa Sue probably was never going to win that Best Actress Tony. Anyways, The Producers is an incredibly influential show. Never been my musical. I've never really liked it that much. It's there's a lot of aspects of it that I kind of think kind of ruined musical theater for about 15 years. So Mel Brooks has been a figure in my life that it's like, I guess I respect. And it's like, how could you hate Mel Brooks? Like, I have watched most of his movies. I have enjoyed them. I think about them fondly. There's not really anything about Mel Brooks that I don't look at fondly, except for the fact that, Young Frankenstein is not the one for me. So, thus, I guess it's merely a love it, you know?
Yeah.
How about you?
It's a gotta have it for me. It's a gotta have it because of the memories I have, laughing about it with my siblings and my parents. And it's a gotta have it because it can still make me laugh, even though I'm such a curmudgeon, serious person who doesn't enjoy funny things or whatever. It's a gotta have it because of the spooky ambiance and the beautiful sets and the music and how it does the Frankenstein thing so perfectly. So it's a gotta have it. That concludes another exciting new Hollywood adventure. Thank you all so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to Kill Your Idols on the podcatcher of your choice.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to throw in one more scary touch.
We would love it if we got more spooky ratings and spooky reviews.
That would be great if we actually just suddenly got bombarded with reviews that were only
like written by zombies or something.
Yes. Okay, sure.
Please write us your zombie review.
Yes.
Please reach out to us or follow us on Instagram or X.
Follow us home.
Or send us an email to Kill Your Idols.
Or send us an... Okay.
This is difficult to get through. Or send us an email to killyouridols@gmail.com. We want to say thank you to the Illuminator for our logo, and thank you to ourselves for everything else. Please join us next episode where we will be discussing a movie we know frightfully little about, and that is Phantasm. Seriously, we've never seen it. We don't know anything about it, but it looks good.
I've seen the cover in a video store before.
Ooh. Tune in next week if you're intrigued.
Hey, Peter Fonda.
How did we do?
We blew it.
I was watching a film with my movie brat friends, and as it went on, we all started to sense it was challenging current social mores, as well as our involvement in foreign wars. And it was MASH! Robert Altman's MASH!
Altman's MASH!
A commercial smash!
The film was MASH!
At Cannes it made a splash!
The movie MASH!
Brian De Palma left the film disappointed. Jane Fonda agreed that the scenes were disjointed. Dennis Hopper said he'd enjoyed it a ton. especially the parts with Sally Kellerman.
In that film, MASH.
Robert Altman's MASH.
Also MASH.
The commercial smash.
Please for MASH.
At Cannes, it made a splash.
The movie MASH.
The Schraders were having fun. John Milius brought his gun. The group included both O'Neills, Tatum, and Ryan. The scene began to turn disturbing and crazy when Ashby stole coke that was brought by Scorsese. Jessica Lange didn't stay too long, saying this night is as wild as the remake of King Kong.
Better than MASH.
Robert Altman's MASH.
We just seen MASH.
It grossed a ton of cash.
Box office MASH.
Marty asked, where's my stash?
Check with Alash.
Margot Kidder admitted it hadn't been her cup of tea. Nothing but a hodgepodge of sexist imagery. Just a collection of comedic stunts. And why are all the characters talking at once all throughout MASH? Robert Altman's MASH.
Ultimate MASH.
With critics quite the smash.
Critics said yes.
Some thought the hype was rash.
They found it crass.
The party went on till the early morn. Catherine Ross had much to say to Rip Torn. What did I think of MASH? I'll give you a clue. You can read it in my old New Yorker review.
Review of MASH.
Robert Altman's MASH.
Ultimate MASH.
A stylistic smash.
Some thoughts on MASH.
Curse words went by in a flash.
Thought made us flash.
By the way, I should have mentioned this all happened on Halloween. I see that it might have been a long walk to get from spooky to Monster MASH to Robert Altman's MASH, but you get it. I mean, you see how I got there, if you understand, you know, the general milieu that this show works in.